So I better say these little things now before, in case I don't fit them into the story. But with in terms of so me and Steve are back out on the road. I'm kicking the ball up and down, you know, putting in me football skills while we're hitching and heading off to wherever we're heading off to next. But wherever it's going to be, it's not going to be raining anyway, because the weather is definitely, it's been boiling hot, and it's sort of a stable, sort of dry and sunny wherever we are. I mean, no, I can't remember carrying a map, and I don't think Steve had a map, so, which is crazy really, because I always like to know me bearings where I am. So I don't know. So anyway, so we didn't really know where we were. Like, we're just like out in the wilds. But hitching these lifts. There's two in particular, because we'd heard that there was serial killer knocking about on the loose. One time, this is later on, like when I'm on my own, like, and I jump into this car. This guy pulls up. I'm in the middle of nowhere. This guy pulls up, long-haired, Charles Manson look, big Irish look, And I get in, and instantly bad vibes. She says, "Where you going?" Not friendly or out. She says, "Where you going?" And I said, "Oh, I'm going down the road, Oh, you're English, blah, blah." So, but instantly, he was telling us, he says, he was pointing over there, some trees or something as we drove past. He says, "You see them trees over there?" I says, "Aye." He says, because the French students, a lot of French from Quebec come across and do the apple picking and tomato picking, all sorts of picking jobs of students. So some towns can be these small little places can be overrun by a lot of students. So he says, "You've seen he says he hates French. He says he hates the French." And he says there was one hung from that tree. Somebody done him in, like, a couple of nights ago. Fucking good, he was saying good, I fucking hate the French. This guy it turns out he'd actually was a fisherman he'd been up on Prince Rupert, I think, as well, or, on a fishing boat. He'd made his money, and he was heading down to Vegas, I think, to basically blow it all, because that's what they do, And I skip around, even, he was telling me stories about how he went to Vegas, blew all his money, ended up like fucking some morning. He was on such a bender. He was on gambling in Vegas, and then woke up in Mexico with only cowboy boots on his shoes, sleeping underneath a corrugated iron sheet of metal with 4 other Mexicans. That's all he had, a pair of cowboy boots. Completely robbed, everything gone. And it's insane, because all that work on the fishing boat, and to have, make, probably maybe have $10,000 on you to spend, go out and party with, just fucking mad, So anyway, that's what this fellow was doing as well. I noticed these tattoos as well, and he had a swastika. Obviously, he had the old swastika on there as well, as he was driving along with his hands on the steering wheel. Really hated the French. And we're just talking, and he says, "I'll pick you up." He says, "I'll stop for you." He says, "I thought you were French, like." And I just laughed, And I think, it was until afterwards I thought, if he hates French, why is he picking French person up? Just the vibes, and he was saying everything he said was like potential to start into an argument, and you just have, so you just literally just fending, just whacking the ball back to him, just try and stay alive, wasn't very nice at all. And I says, we'll come into this little town. I says, "Well, just drop us off here, mate. This is far enough." Like, and then he's sort of saying, "Well, I thought you wanted to go into." "Oh no, this is fine. I'm just going to hang about here, you know." And fortunately, he did stop, you know, because I was sort of entering my mind, if he doesn't stop, like, I am fucking in trouble here, like. But he did stop when I got out, and I was never been so relieved to get out of a car, like. And but you know, if you want to travel safely, you know, uh, Greyhound, train, anywhere, but it's hitching, innit? It's hitching. Um, everybody who'll pick you up hitching's got a story. They're all sort of characters, like. So I mean, the next hitch I got out of that town was literally about half an hour later, and that was surreal as well. I mean, there was this they were like a middle-aged couple. It was like I'd been transported back to 1950. They were a middle-aged couple that had this sort of, or an older couple, like a retirement couple, and they had this sort of station wagon, how you'd imagine, you know, like off all the old movies, but it was like I'm not sure what colour it was, but it was like a classic, and had a classic caravan on the back as well, like a big old caravan, but it was all immaculate. And inside, I sat on the back seats, and it were all like, it's like, I think it was like a white leather inside, and they were jolly, and the two of them talking away and really interested in us, and like moms and pops, and where you from? Where you from, buddy? All this, wow, never been there. You just, it was all, and I'm just sitting in the middle of these back seats with these two at the front, I'm in a 1950s movie, and I'm thinking, these two are fucking scary, and the other fella, And again, the next town, "Oh, this'll do. Thank you very much. I'll get out here." "Okay, buddy. Lovely to meet you. Have a great time," and all this sort of stuff. And off they went as well. Just, I mean, two complete opposite hitches, like, but both with a funny vibe, like, just both odd, like. So that's the sort of thing, it goes on. I remember that night. That was the night I kept in a dog kennel, because you're traveling about, like, you're kipping everywhere. Like, if it's got a roof on it, you'll kip in it. Like, that was like a wooden dog kennel in this fucking field. So literally, I've kipped everywhere. Like, but when the scenery around you is foreign, it's just an adventure. I mean, you're not gonna sleep in a dog kennel in your own town. Well, hopefully you're not. Hopefully you're not. But in your own country, and but hopefully you're not. But when when you're in a movie, like, sort of, well, that's what you're gonna do. And I want to stay warm tonight anyway. And there's fucking grizzly bears all over the place, and this thing's got a fucking lock on it, so I'm going inside of here. It was clean, like, inside. It was just like a wooden box with a door on it, and just presumed it was some sort of big dog kennel thing, like a tiny little shed on stilts. So me and Steve, side of the road, hitching, different types of hitching, and we're heading to this town. This town shall remain nameless. It's going to have to. It was a long time ago, but it's going to have to remain nameless. So we're coming to this town, and there's a hostel. It's like a house right in the middle of the town. Like, there's like this hostel, and it's got like a big lawn outside of it and a wall around it, And on this lawn, there's about 10 tents. It turns out it's a free hostel for traveling students and just travelers. Some hippie owns the house, and he's sort of, you can just put your tent up for free, man, and just hang out, and you could bed down in the house, if you wanted. But me and Steve sort of opted. I think Steve would have been saying, "Oh, there's fucking lasses in there, like, we'll go and keep in the house." But I've just stayed out in the tent. I think Steve did as well. Because I think maybe he was thinking, well, there might be fucking lasses around, but there'll be pickpockets and all, like, and he's got his fucking wallet and that on him. So, all of that. So that's and so there for a couple of days. My money's seriously gone down. I remember we're going to the pub. There's this bar, it was great. And Steve, Steve's got money, but he's not wanting to spend it. I've got fucking out now, like I'm really low. And we're at this, and I'm just thinking, this is a fucking great bar, like, and I would be knocking the beers back here, like, I'd be loving this, like, and I've got hardly fuck all, hardly any money here, like, so, it was knocking us, Yeah, so I'm at this, so, the lack of money's, knocking us as much because I can't have a drink, as much as out else. And, or a big drink anyway, So, my sort of thing was, when I was younger, was always binge drinking, like, like a typical sort of, not different to anybody, a teenager, 20 something, it's, Newcastle upon Tyne, I mean, these sort of small cities, big towns, the culture, my age group, time I was, probably still like that now. Just full on alcohol all the time, just not all the time, just like binge drinking, but binge drinking is alcoholism. It's still a problem, like, if it's not something that you can control, that's the definition of alcoholism, is if it's a problem to you, that's alcoholism. It's a problem. So, but it wasn't. I was never drinking all the time. Just like I say, big sessions, and never happy with it. I remember stopped drinking for a while, a couple of times, in the past, just fighting it, and so that was, that was always something on my mind, like, where Steve's addiction would be like, the sex. My addiction would be the binge drinking, I suppose it helps if you've got any money. Sort of curtails that, but like, after you've been like picking tomatoes and been through all these adventures, you want to fucking just get whacked, and if you haven't got the money, it's fucking annoying. But also I'm sort of thinking about, just in general, seem to be sort of beholden to me mate Steve here, who, as I've mentioned previously, had cards on him. He had money in the bank. I didn't. So once my money ran out, so he was lending his money, and then I was having to do these things just to pay him back, because I'd have to pay him back. He's not giving us money for nothing. So it's sort of feeling like, there's two things happening with me and Steve. One is the sort of thing that, I feel like he's kind of like me dad lending his money, or me big brother lending his money, and it's not good. It doesn't feel good, And the other thing is just Steve being Steve, just being himself. But then I'm not like that, just the night owl, the night owl, risk taking sort of thing of his personality. I was more of like a day person, and just, with me vice being the sort of binge drinking, which isn't any different to fucking 99% of fucking people of that age, But it's still a problem to me. Till I feel like, say, where Steve would never get hammered the way I would, like, not that I could particularly take the drink. Well, neither of us could, but Steve would be happy with a few beers and, twinkling his eye, having scouting around the room looking for some toddy, Whereas I would just be like, how I always was like, well, 3, 4, 5, 6 beers, 7 beers, and then it's just blackout time, innit? One of them, like, unfortunately, that's what I was anyway. And, but not all the time in my life, but certainly times of my life where the every weekend or the binging would be a lot more than other times. And there was times where I stopped drinking for 2 years, times where I stopped drinking for a year. Nobody at the time would say I was an alcoholic. Nobody would say I was an alcoholic. Just say, well, were you just completely normal to like everybody else? We're all fucking being drinking. What's the problem, you know? But I wasn't happy with the way I was, like, and I was always felt like I was fighting it in my 20s. Like, I didn't want to be that person, you know. And so there's this, I'm feeling there's this pulling to and this pulling away from Steve happening, you know. So and you know, Steve was probably picking up on that, you know, and sensing that. So this is why it was convenient for Steve to have Steph begin to step in to the story for him, because he was wanting to, because he was across the states, he was wanting to go down to South America. Steve was fascinated with the, you know, he'd always, you know, he must have read books on the Incas, so the pyramids. He was wanting to go and see that, you know, all that sort of thing. I wasn't interested in that. I just wanted to go to see the rock and roll of the States, really. And Canada was a bonus. That's all I ever wanted to go. I never wanted to go to, I had never had any interest in going to anywhere else, but it was only ever America and Europe. That was all. First world, America, Europe. Not interested. So Steve was wanting, he was sort of back up his mind, he's planning, he's going to need a partner to travel down there, right? Because you know, this separation is occurring, and I'm probably sort of starting to see it. You know, I'm gonna have to think about get me money for a plane ticket, because you know, I'm wanting to go now. Like, I want to head back out to Europe. You know, so we're in this this town that must remain unnameable, right? No money. I've got no money anyway. Steve's willing to keep on giving us the money as long as I keep on paying him back, but that's not going to be happening. I'm sick of that. Like, fucking hell, you know. What's this? Me pocket money, you know. And also, I'm there for a reason. I'm on this journey to try and mature as a person, because I knew I had some maturing to do, a lot of maturing to do, you know. I was doing a form of meditation back in Prince Rupert, lying in the tent when it was pissing down the rain every day. Like, just imagine this third eye in my forehead opening. It's really, I was going deep, like, just trying to fucking get wise, you know, trying to become a man, you know, grow up eventually, shake off all this sort of naive dreaming rock and roll thing, you know, rock star thing. And but I need the money, because if I walk away from Steve tomorrow, I'm gonna need some money. So how can I get money? Well, I know for a fact, busking. I'm a great guitar player. I'm a great musician. So if I've done that before in the past, but that's a whole other story. I had already done it in the past up until then. It didn't make as much money when I was a student. Didn't make much money, but at least it fed us, you know. And in this situation, at least feeding me was hitting the big time, you know, when you've gotten out. So if I've got a musical instrument, at least I can plonk myself down outside a shop or something, get $5 or $10, and that'll feed us for that day. Like, I'm at the bottom, like, you know. I'm not gonna keep on borrowing money off sex addict Steve, and you know, I don't mean that in a nasty way, because Steve was a great mate. He was a great mate to be traveling around with. Great mate for this journey, this traveling. I mean, made the story, basically made the story, but it was tiring. It was exhausting, you know. I was like, fucking hell. But he was probably finding me exhausting as well, you know, in my little ways. So there was a music shop in this town. So we walked into the music shop just to have a look about, you know. Steve's over there looking. I'm over here looking. And at the top of the shop there's a counter, and the fella is talking with this woman about she's wanting to buy something. And I'm looking here, right in front of us is a mandolin, right? And I pick up and play it. I thought, if I walked out the shop with this, that's problem solved. That, like, I've got no money to buy it because it's like $200, but that would solve me problems. That, like, I could actually eat, you know. So I picked it up and I put it in my rucksack. Steve doesn't know what's going on. Steve's just looking at guitars over there, you know. And then my eyes catch another mandolin. This one was like $600, right? So I had a quick play of that. I thought, fucking hell, that's better. So I swapped them. I pulled the $200 one, put that back, and put the $600 one in the rucksack. And because I'm not like a professional thiefer out, it was very clumsily done, and it's ridiculous how I got away with it. But I said, like, come on, Steve, go. He's, what's going on? I said, follow me. So we're walking quickly out the shop. I remember a woman giving us a look, like she sort of knew what was going on, something not right. And I would just steal the shop. And then we're marching dead quickly down this road. He says, what the fuck's going on? I says, I've nicked the mandolin. And Steve's fucking loving it. He's fucking loving it. He says, you mad fucker. He says, you mad fucker. Did you really do that? And his notepad's coming out, you know. Oh, this is going in the book, this one. Like, this is for the next movie, this one. And I said, I just fucking keep walking, fast as fuck. And obviously, you know, I'm buzzing, like Steve's buzzing. And, you know, I've never stolen anything like that before, ever, since. I never had up until that point, apart from a football and some Mars bars when I was a kid. And that's what I felt I had to do. And we went back to this hostel thing, to a tents, and I remember, you know, carefully rolling it up inside my tent, you know, in some clothes, and then putting a bit of like a plastic bag around it, tying it, and then having that. And then it was on the top of. I put it on my rucksack on the top, so it was next to the sleeping bag, so it wasn't inside the rucksack, so it looked like a sort of something, just something that was there, you know. I didn't think it looked like a musical instrument. It just looked something long ways, you know, next to the sleeping bag, and that was tied down. And so that was that. So right now I can eat. Now I know I can eat. Right, all I got to do is work out a few little tunes. And you know, Steve's loving it. You know, Steve says, "Oh well, Steph's coming. So like the next day or a couple of days later, Stephanie turns up, and now there's the three of us again. I mean, Steph wasn't that impressed because Steph was Canadian. That I'd nicked the mandolin. Steph was Canadian, but I think she was sort of quite enjoying all this risk as well. You see, Stephanie, even though she was a stripper, she was a nice lass, just a normal lass, but she's doing a bit of stripping at the strip bar in Prince Rupert, like some of the other lasses were doing. You know, good, easy, quick money. You know, for the fishermen. You know, you know, easy. Well, I don't know if it's easy, like, but I think it would certainly be good money. And you know, but kind of all the blokes, me and Steve, when we were there, were sort of this exotic foreign thing, you know. Well, all the women were like, oh, you know, English and Scottish, you know. So, and you know, these fucking just traveling through, man. You know, just a couple of outlaws traveling through. So, you know, Steph was loving it, really, you know. So she was happy there. She was happy to be there. Steve was happy to be there. And, you know, I don't know if at this point I'm gunning, would agree to that, and it was just Steph was just stepping in my shoes to continue with Steve. That was probably what was happening. Like, so I remember we're walking out of town, this town, and I've got my mandolin hidden in my rucksack, and I think it was agreed. So we get to this other little bit of town, and that's it. We're gonna part ways. So I've got my thumb out. Stephen Stepper stood there. So the plan is I take the next hitch and I go that way. And when I go that way, Steve and Steph probably walk to the nearest bus station, like, and buy a bus ticket, and they're heading off to begin their journey to South America, to where the Inca people lived in the pyramid things, and their journey continues. I did say it to Steve though. I've just remembered there. I did say it. You have to be careful, Steve. You might regret travelling around with a lass. And I wasn't I wasn't stirring it. I says because a few years earlier I travelled around with my girlfriend, and I at times you're fighting blokes off, because if she's an attractive lass, she's seen as by a lot of other men as maybe being a bit slutty, you know. So it's traveling with another lad. You just, it's a couple of lads, But if you've got a lass, it's you're vulnerable, like, as a man, you're vulnerable, like, because of other men, right? And they might want what you've got, And as it turns out, like a year later, I got a phone call from Steve and Steph, who'd been on their travels. And what Steve had said on the phone was, before Steph came on and had a few words, he says, "You're right, Rob. You are right." I says, "What? About travelling around with a lass?" He says, "Well, we're in Mexico." He didn't go into that much detail, but I knew Steve when he was fucking being serious. He says, there was this fucking, we're in this bar one night, and there was these Mexican blokes and Steph, and it got pretty bad, And I think I might have just as well asked Steve, I told you, man, But it didn't stop their travels, like, because they went on to the two of them went on to down to the Philippines or Vietnam or something like that for a few months, and before that ended, Steph did come on the phone. She didn't sound overly happy anymore. I think the adventure it worked out of her system as well. Like, that's what she sounded like on the phone. Actually, it might have been more. It might have been a bit long. I think they might have been a bit together for a little bit longer. And I'm thinking maybe it's a year later. But I mean, certainly Steve would have had his adventure would have. I mean, I bet you Steph's got some great stories. Certainly, But at that point, I'm aware. I've had, I wanting to do my own thing. I'm wanting to do this thing on my own now, right? Nothing. It's not nothing. I've done the thing with Steve. That's been great. Steve's with Steph. Even if Steph hadn't been there, I was wanting to do my own thing anyway. I was wanting to do this on my own. This for me, this whole adventure was like, I knew I could, but I just wanted to do it. I wanted to experience the travel and just get a bit more, just do it on my own. As simple as that, And of course, when I started doing it on my own for the next sort of, whatever it was, 6 weeks, it was like it didn't feel any. It was like Steve was there or he wasn't there. I mean, I never missed Steve not being there because there's so many other characters coming to your life, so many other people. I mean, you can really just travel on your own, and it's just you're always around people. There's always stuff happening. So a Volkswagen pulls up, a Volkswagen camper, and bizarrely, it's like the sort of Canadian version of Steve and Steph in this Volkswagen camper. And they were like, yeah, come on, jump in. Yeah, we're heading up to Lake Louise. Oh, I've never heard of it. Oh, you've got to go see Lake Louise. It's beautiful and all that. Of course, I know about it now through the country songs. The Byrds even wrote a song called Lake Louise. Oh, no, they didn't. It was an old classic. All right, yeah, great. So that was it. That was me lift out of there. So I'm sat in this Volkswagen with the new Steve and Steph and looking out the window, waving, at them as I went away. And Steve's sort of face just looking like, well, fucking hell, well, not really that bothered, there he goes. Where Steph's giving us more of a wave, So, not that I was bothered, So I'm away up the road and they're off to South America.